Welcome to Rick and Bubba University. Excited today. We're going to be talking about a movie that is a must-see. I still believe the Erwin Brothers are at it again. Andy Erwin will be our guest today. But before we get started, I do want to talk about something, Bubba, that we all know is a hassle, and that is when your automobile is no longer under the manufacturer's warranty.
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go.
You can just count on the problems to begin, can't you?
Yeah, so that's why CarShield is so important. CarShield has affordable protection plans that can save you thousands for a covered repair, including these things that you have to think about with the modern vehicles: computers, GPS, electronics of any kind, and more. With CarShield, you're behind the wheel of your plan. CarShield has customizable monthly plans with rates as low as $99 a month. You get to choose, your favorite mechanic or the dealership to do the work, and CarShield takes care of the rest. They offer, don't forget this, when you're under the CarShield protection, 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. CarShield has helped over 1 million customers, so drive with confidence knowing you got coverage from America's #1 auto protection provider. With rates as low as $99 a month, you have nothing to lose. Get covered by CarShield today. Here's the number, 1-800-CAR-6000. Mention the code RickBubba, or go to carshield.com and use the code RickBubba. That's going to save you 10%. That's carshield.com, the code RickBubba. A deductible may apply. Andy Erwin of the Erwin Brothers joins us on Rick and Bubba University. Andy, welcome in.
What's up, guys? It's good to be back with you. We missed you guys.
I'm telling you, we've done some projects, haven't we?
How's everything in LA today?
It's sunny and bad traffic and full of narcissism, but it's a job.
It is a job. Yeah. So, if those that may not know the history of the Erwin Brothers, you guys, of course, have worked a lot, mainly in sports with you, Andrew. But you guys, decided that you would take out and start saying, look, we want to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we've talked about this on the big show before, but there may be new audience that's listening to Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. We certainly agree with that as followers of Christ, but we have to admit the quality must be there. You can't just say, hey, we're doing a movie, and it is a movie that points people to Jesus, and if you're a Christian, then you should go see it. We've always said, even in what we do for a living, the approach to get people to support products that are faith-based is not out of guilt. It really should be out of quality, and they should stand on their own. And of course, you guys started that first with October Baby. Then we had some fun with Mom's Night Out. My oldest son and family were connected, as your dad was connected to the movie Woodlawn, and my oldest son even got to be in that, which was cool. And of course, 2018 brought the smash hit, incredible movie, I Can Only Imagine. So, not just saying this because we know you and we like what you guys do. These are quality movies, and they stand on their own merit, regardless of whether you're a follower of Jesus or not. And it certainly doesn't apologize for the faith-based messages, but they are well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been quite a journey, and you guys have been there from the beginning. I remember when we first did October Baby, and nobody would give us, the time of day to be able to get, our product out there. And I remember standing outside your studio window with a DVD to the screen, to the window outside, and just kind of stood there until you guys felt sorry for me and let us into the studio to be able to talk about what we were trying to do. And it's been amazing to see what God's brought it from there till now. And so, with each of those products, we say that quality is something we always chase. It's not something we ever catch. And we just try to get a little bit better each step along the way. And so with I Can Only Imagine, that was definitely a breakout moment that nobody saw that coming. This little film that was done for $7 million, small shoestring budget, to open at $17.1 million, go on to do $85 million worldwide. Nobody saw that coming. And so the doors that have opened up for the gospel have been phenomenal. And Lionsgate came on board after that and said, we want to see more product like this on a large scale. And they've given us resources we never dreamed possible. So I still believe is the newest film in that line of films. And we're so excited to see what God's doing. We just want to be faithful with the opportunity.
Andy, could you tell us a little bit about that movie? And a lot of folks may or may not know Jeremy Camp, but can you tell us a little bit about what this movie's about?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. When we got done with doing Imagine, we got pitched every music story in the business. Everybody had a story.
I bet.
They're all this we'd be in these conversations with a lot of musician friends, and it'd get to that awkward part in the conversation. There'd be a lull. And then they'd be like, I've always thought my life might be and
that made me uncomfortable. By the way, right? Even secondhand, right now, I'm uncomfortable. Yeah,
you just wait for that. It's just like it was the long 5-second silence, and they'd be like, but somebody said you got to talk to Jeremy Camp, and I knew Jeremy. It was funny. A funny connection with Jeremy is years ago when I was first trying to get started in doing film stuff. I was a cameraman, and he came to Birmingham to do a concert, and I agreed to work the concert as a cameraman for a buddy of mine that was directing it if I could get 5 minutes backstage with Jeremy to try to pitch him a music video. And it was the most awkward pitch of my life. I bombed it. It was just like they escorted me out of the dressing room, and he was really sweet about it, but I was definitely super awkward. So all these years later, to kind of sit back down with him is like, you don't remember me, but I was that awkward kid. But Jeremy, we sat down with him, and they said, you got to hear his story. And, his story is a beautiful love story. His first wife, Melissa, they met in college sweethearts. And as they were dating, she found out that she had terminal cancer. And he just prayed about it and said that he felt like God had called her to be a part of that journey with her. And she said, if one life is changed by what I go through, it's totally worth it. And it's just an amazing love story between these two. And when we were interviewing about an hour in, he got the 1,000-yard stare and started reliving it. And I've never heard a love story that compelling. And then after it was done, his wife now, Adrian, I pulled her into the conversation, and I said, how can you listen to your husband talk about another woman for 3 hours and not flinch, not have a hint of jealousy? And she said, let me be clear. I'm very protective over Melissa and Jeremy's story because their story is something I needed to hear. It changed my life. And I turned to my brother and I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I want to do that movie. And so we kind of started bringing it to life, and an amazing cast assembled. And I'm so proud of the story. It definitely takes the world of I Can Only Imagine. It takes it somewhere bigger and unexpected. It's a really great story.
Yeah, that was you already answered the question I was going to ask. First of all, I had a experience. I believe it was in Huntsville at the minor league stadium, and I believe it was Scott Dawson Evangelistic Association had Jeremy Camp in concert, and I was speaking that night, and so he and I were just sitting there, talking, and all of a sudden he starts going into this story, and I'm like, what? Because you think when he first starts out, well, I wonder how this is going to go, and then he keeps going. I won't give away the whole movie, but he keeps going with the story, and I remember, like you said, there's a moment where you're just sitting there. And he's talking, and you're just staring, and you're just listening. And I remember the first time that I ever heard that story. And then my next question was to you, because he does have a current wife and has been married. I wondered how difficult it was for her to have to relive this story, to really go back in time and see her husband portrayed in a time before he ever knew her. And you answered that question. And
I mean, it was really special because then there was the experience of bringing it back to life and reliving it. And the thing that I thought was beautiful about the story is these two women that had a big part in Jeremy's story that impacted each other, that were kind of separated by a fraction of eternity. And just to see God's bigger purpose in it, and how Melissa said, I feel like I'm supposed to pray for you and for your wife. And then she realizes that she loves Jeremy. She plays a part in his life for a time. And then she says, if one life is changed, it's totally worth it. And then to come to the end of the story, and Adrian to be able to say, I'm very protective of this story because it changed my life. And I just thought that was a beautiful picture of eternity. And it's just definitely everything that, a younger audience is going to want out of a love story. It has everything that you would want, but in a way that's really pure and beautiful. And KJ Apa and Britt Robertson that play the two of them in the film are just captivating.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, you really have presented, when Jesus was asked, they were trying to corner him about, this fictional woman that all these brothers keep redeeming, and they all were married to her for a time, and then they were like, well, when we get to heaven, whose wife is it? And Jesus is like, guys, the way this scenario you're talking about is a world only scenario. When we get into heaven, the way these things work, it will be everybody will be in just this awe and love of God, that these kind of things and the pettiness of jealousy and this and that won't mean a lot there. And you're seeing this really being betrayed already in this story.
Yeah, it's great, and it's the cool thing about it as well is just to see in a world with such superficial love that's portrayed so much on the screen. Our desire was to connect with a younger generation, to kind of show heaven's perspective on this, but in a way that still satisfied all of the desire for a romantic movie. And so, when we had the cast that assembled, when this kid KJ Appa signed on board, it kind of took on a new life of its own. And KJ, for people that don't know, is on the TV show Riverdale. I'm old, so I didn't know what it was. But the 20 million followers on his Instagram know what it is. And and it was funny. I've never experienced anything like it. Like, we had so many kids, and specifically teenage girls, trying to sneak on set. And I don't know how they found out where we were filming. They would just show up in droves with like signs, and it was like somebody from the Beatles was showing up, back in the '60s. And and so it was pretty wild to see. And then when he was signed on to do the movie, KJ's a believer, and he was raised in the Samoan church in New Zealand. His father's Samoan, and he'd been wanting an opportunity to express his faith. And so when he signed on board, he said, I feel like this isn't Jeremy's story, this is Melissa's. And whoever we cast as Melissa has to have great chemistry with us. And we said, well, who have you acted with that you had that kind of chemistry with? And he said, Britt Robertson, when I first moved here to the States, first thing I booked was A Dog's Purpose. I played a young Dennis Quaid, and Britt Robertson played my girlfriend. And he said, I absolutely loved her. And I'm like, well, get her on the phone, see if she'll do it. He texted her. He's like, I got it, bro, no problem. And I'm like, did she text back? He's like, apparently we weren't as close as I thought. She never answered.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, so he's all sheepish, and we're like, oh, dang it. And so we got into the casting process, and one day she posted something, like responded to something on his Instagram, and he got on the phone, and she's like, oh, that was you. I didn't know who it was. Read the script, fell in love with it, said I would love to do this. And I've never seen two actors just have such great chemistry. And so the both of them, I'm really proud how they played Jeremy and Melissa, and then having the real Jeremy Camp and then Adrian on set, to kind of be there with them and interact with them was really special. And he and KJ had a great connection. There was times after a scene where he'd just come over and put his arm around him and pray for him. It was really cool. So it was a across the board special experience, and I think my hope is that it connects with a younger audience.
Now, KJ plays Archie in Riverdale, right?
It does.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Riverdale is based on like a spinoff of the whole Archie comic series. So KJ plays Archie. He has the crazy red hair, and when he has the red hair, he's very recognizable. So when you go out with him in public, I've never gotten seated so quickly at restaurants. It was so awesome. I abused the heck out of that.
Wasn't that great?
I go in, they'd be like, yeah, it'd be a 3-hour wait. And then he comes in, they're like, we can seat you right away. And so, he's a great kid.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the other.
That's great to know he's a believer, because I'm familiar with Riverdale. I didn't watch every episode, but it's kind of a dark version of that story a little bit, and it's got a lot of edge to it. So, but he played a good guy in it. And the cool thing about it is like what we're finding out is there's a lot of believers in the industry that are actors that are finally not ashamed to be in films that deal with Christianity because they feel like it's starting to not feel cheesy, and so they're coming out of the woodwork saying I follow Jesus, and there's a lot more of them than I even thought, and so there's a lot of prominent names that are just beginning to become more vocal about it, and so KJ's he's got a deep faith. It's the real deal, and I'm proud of that kid. And I think that's where you guys are playing a major role. I mean, I think you're moving the needle from that cheesy feel to like real movies.
Yep.
And
I hope so.
And you can see that in every movie. And you were talking about, and look, let's be honest, Hollywood is driven by the bottom line. It is a business.
It's a business.
And you guys, I just look how you've progressed from, your gross sales, like 5 million, 10 million, 14 million, now 85 million.
Yep.
Now you're a player. And you guys have worked hard at it. I'm really proud for you and your brother for what you're doing. And we have a lot of love for your family, your dad, who was very, very kind to us when we first started. And we're just pumped about you guys, man. I'm excited to see where this rocket's going.
Yeah. Bubba and I joke all the time about we certainly have a kinship with you guys, trying to be in the world but not of the world. And we tell people all the time, nobody lets us talk about Jesus because they think that's an awesome thing. People keep us on the air because of ratings and revenue. If you produce revenue, you get the freedom to speak freely. As far as the industry is concerned, the entertainment business, and you guys, as Bubba said perfectly, Lionsgate came in and said, "We'll take 85 million, and if you guys keep cranking out those kind of movies, we're in."
It's funny to see. We just want to be faithful stewards of the platform, and you guys know it as well as anybody. Is you have to earn the right to be heard.
That's right.
It's about entertaining people. And so the fact that you guys can cut up and act silly on the air and get people to laugh, that gives you an opportunity then to have those moments where you really go for it. And so, others have taken that leap. Chris Pratt has done that. I thought his MTV Icon Award was brilliant. That he kept bouncing back and forth between off-the-wall humor and then coming in with a zinger for the gospel, over and over again. And I think that, we just want to be faithful to that platform, and for Lionsgate to give us the opportunity to tell stories like that. It was funny. They invited us to CinemaCon last year, which is the big, it's the big where they have all the different theater chain owners and they bring in all the movie stars for it, and it's in Las Vegas. And so we went, and the movies they were there to promote, it was Hellboy, Knives Out, John Wick, Seth Rogen's comedy, Long Shot, and then us. And I'm like, who doesn't belong in this situation? And it was so funny. It was so awkward backstage. It was like a whole room full of people like Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen and just all these people, and Halle Berry and all these. So we were there, and there were a couple actors that weren't really happy about us being in the room. I won't name who they were, but
just text us who they are.
I'll text you. They were pretty vocal. It was funny. It was awkward at points. That was like, who let the Christians in? And
right. Well, look, some of them would be glad to have an $85 million gross lately.
I know. Let the box office speak for the audience.
That's right.
But afterwards, Seth Rogen was on the side of the stage and he was watching us. And Seth is a businessman, and he's a smart cookie. We have a different worldview, but he's definitely an entrepreneur. And he was just kind of looking at us, trying to figure us out. And when I got off the stage, I could see that he was just, do I kind of make fun of him, or do I like give him a handshake? And I walked off stage and I said, Seth, the disaster artist was the most cathartic laugh I've had in the theater in a long time. Really hysterical. Really proud to shake your hand. And I shook his hand and patted him on the back and walked past him. He just looked at me stunned, like he didn't know what to do.
Right.
And then his business partner looked at us. He's like, "Those guys are cool." And
right.
So it was pretty fun. It's cool to kind of earn the opportunity to be heard as a Christian.
That's right, and that's how it should be. So tell us a little bit about the rest of the cast. I mean, we see Gary Sinise, which he's been on the show before, and we know he's vocal about his faith, and of course what he's done for the Wounded Warriors and all of that's been incredible. Shania Twain, just I'm giving some names that people would know right off the top of their head. Tell us about how they ended up in the movie.
Yeah, it was great. Gary Sinise is one of my heroes, and so back when we were first starting, in the business, and we did October Baby, because faith was not popular at the time, and topics can be dicey at times. We took a lot of heat for it, and so Sinise reached out to us through email. Somebody connected him to us, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to get together with you guys for breakfast." And I was like, "Well, of course, this isn't the real Gary Sinise. It's just going to be some guy with the same name, and something like little short dumpy guy." I'd be like, "Oh, okay." And so we go out to wait for him in the restaurant, and all of a sudden I hear this voice go, "Hey guys, this is Gary Sinise." And I look up and I'm like, "Lieutenant Dan." And,
oh yeah, he's never heard that, has he?
Yeah, so it's like it was hilarious. And so we got to talking at breakfast, and I just said, I'm scared of getting blacklisted for being a believer, being a Christian. And he said, "Andy, there's thousands of us out here that would work with you in a heartbeat." And so he kind of became a mentor to us and just has loved us well over the years and given us great advice. And I've never really asked him to be in one of my films before. And so when this came along, it really hit close to home with his story and some things. And I just said, "I feel like you could do something special with it, Gary." And he jumped on board to act in it. And so when he was on board, it was funny. He directed Of Mice and Men when he was 32 years old. So he's done my job very efficiently. And so half the time I would just ask him, like, "Gary, what would you do in this scene?"
How cool is that? Yeah.
It was funny. He leaned over. He's like, "My character, what did I have for breakfast today?" I'm like, I don't know, Gary. Does it matter?" He's like, "Well, if I had a heavy breakfast, I'd be a little bit more sluggish." And he's like, go through the whole, there's like, "Gary, you just make all the decisions."
That's a pretty good Gary Sinise, by the way.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was funny. And then Shania Twain, I didn't know what I was going to get there because, she's definitely, she's like one of the best-selling, female artists of all time. And, you never know if you're going to get a diva. And we didn't have a chance to really connect and meet beyond just a quick Skype when we were casting the film. And she plays Jeremy's mom. And I just said, I don't want a glam kind of, iconic singer. I want, an every mom. And she came in and she said, "Andy, I am perfectly comfortable doing this." She's like, "I got no shame. I'm Shania Twain." And I said, I was like, "I like you. You're one of us." And so she was great. She was great to work with, and just a real team player, and very coachable, and did a really great job. Just kind of provided that soft heart to the movie. And then we have Melissa Roxborough from the TV show Manifest, who is also a believer. She wanted to be in the film so bad. She said, "I'll do whatever you need me to." And her dad's a pastor, a Baptist preacher up in Canada. And so, she stars in that show Manifest that's on I think it's on ABC.
Yep.
And she's great. She plays the sister, Melissa's sister in this film. So great cast top to bottom. I'm really, really proud of it.
Well, it's going to open on March the 13th. And so, that is a big release, right? That's when it'll be everywhere.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, and we're so excited to have for the first time to be at a studio where we're not the redheaded stepchild. We're being seen as a legitimate audience. The faith audience is, and Lionsgate has been very embracing of that in not a condescending or patronizing way. They have said, "Hey, help us understand what's important to Christians. What is the content they want, and whatever you say that is, we're going to go with it." And so they have really given us a lot of freedom and a lot of. So we're getting a release in twice as many theaters as Imagine, so over 3,000 screens, and we're getting an IMAX release, which is the first ever faith film to get an IMAX release, and that's a huge opportunity for the gospel. And then I got the list: 87 countries around the world it's getting a release in, so it gets translated into languages all over the planet and gets shipped out on autopilot. And so we're so excited to see what that does for the gospel.
Well, it really does. When you just listed all the things you listed, there's so many things that come to mind. And we're in the Wednesday Bible study here that we do. We're going through the Gospel of John, and we just talked about where Jesus is talking about. In 14, he's getting them ready to go. He's about to talk about obedience, which, gets very uncomfortable because he really goes on and on about it. But then, in some people you hear sometimes like that's not even in the Bible. But anyway, he starts telling them that greater works are going to be done. It's good that I go because greater works will be done. And you're like, Jesus is saying greater works are going to be done. And, of course, obviously, when he took on the 100% man part, he limited his glory. And he said, "I'm about to give you the Holy Spirit." But also, you have no idea what is ahead with the ability to take what I'm teaching you guys. And the ground that we covered in this 3-year ministry is nothing compared to what's going to be covered.
Yes.
And when you hear what you just said, where you take a product, and I know how you guys do movies. Bubba and I both do. I've watched the trailer. It's not going to be apologetic about the faith message at all. However, it's a great love story. It's a good story. And here are these platforms that the adversary has been using to destroy, to confuse. And I think what's important too, Bubba, and we've talked about this, is when the world takes our stories and they say, we'll do the Christian movies, then they take them and corrupt them terribly and send out horribly confusing messages and blaspheme what we believe. And it's important that it's done by people who actually do believe it. And and for you guys to get this opportunity, what God has afforded you is really, really uplifting. I mean, I just feel my spirit rising up, going, all of these countries and all these places are going to be presented the gospel clearly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for us, we're so excited for the opportunity of the gospel because, I was telling Mandy the other day, if this was about popularity and this was about money or power, any of that stuff, I'd be out in a heartbeat because there's so many easier ways to find a way to earn a living. But we're very idealistic about the reason we do it. It's very intentional. It's on purpose, and it's an opportunity for the gospel and to allow a business model that's already developed, that's been developed for a lot of things for the wrong reasons, instead of railing against that model, being able to harness it and say, how can we use this as an opportunity to get the gospel out on autopilot to the world? So, I still believe it's going to get a release in all over the Middle East. So it's going to be in Saudi Arabia and in Iraq and Jordan, United Arab Emirates. It's everywhere. And it's going to be in Asia and in South America and across Europe. So to see that happen and then allow the gospel to do what it does as we plant that seed, and then the church around the world to kind of rally around that as a tool, that's really the bigger purpose. And so we're excited to see that expand and to have a partner like Lionsgate that is allowing us to do that, but as long as it continues to generate box office. It's incredible. So on the heels of this one, we've already got our two new films in production. They'll go into production in April and then May. We're doing Jesus Revolution, which is kind of a prequel to Woodlawn. It's about the beginning of the Jesus movement. In Woodlawn, there's that moment where Hank's character has the magazine, the Time magazine cover, and puts it down on the counter, and it says Jesus Revolution. And so it talks about the beginning of that Jesus movement, centering around Pastor Greg Laurie, his story of being a drugged out kid in Calvary Chapel, and Chuck Smith, and it's an incredible story. So John Gunn, that directed Case for Christ, is directing that for us, and we're producing it. So that goes into production in April, and then in May we are going into production on the Kurt Warner story. We're going back to football, and which is going to be a big budget film that Lionsgate's putting a lot of resources towards. So we're thrilled at the opportunity, and your movie ticket is your voice, and that's your vote. And when the audience shows up in the fashion that they did with I Can Only Imagine opening weekend, and they make that much noise, it gives us tremendous influence to be able to put out more product like that. And so we're excited.
Andy, part of the movie business is promoting it, and part of it is, when you have your big premiere in Hollywood. Is that a lot of fun? Or I mean, it looks like there could be a lot of pitfalls in those things, right? I mean,
oh my gosh, Bubba, I don't look good dressed up. This is as dressed up as I get. And so the idea of making me dress up and smile over and over again, and I have a face made for radio, so I would love to just hang out in the booth with you guys because that's where my face belongs. But doing that, and then everybody for some reason gets mad at you, and so it's just a time where everybody's like, they didn't get an invite, or they were confused about when it was, and so I kind of just it's one of those necessary marketing tools. But it was funny. The first premiere I did was Mom's Night Out, and we did it at the Chinese Theater. And I was all excited. This is my first premiere and getting to do it at this historic place. And I got on the red carpet and I looked around and I realized everybody's as insecure as I am. And I kind of had this realization of like, is this it? Is this is all there is? And so for us, I would rather be at home watching an Alabama football game or something of that nature than on a red carpet. But I'll take it. It's part of the process.
Yeah, we sent Adler to a Mom's Night Out, if you remember that. On the red carpet, you guys were gracious enough to invite and Bubba and I couldn't go, but we sent Adler. And that was hilarious. It really was.
I've never recovered from Adler being on the red carpet.
And I noticed you've never asked him back. I mean,
I never asked him back. That was it. I was like, well, that was an experiment. And note to self, I'm just like, But hey, Adler's great people. We'll let him do interviews from a distance.
He's banned at Bernie Sanders rallies too. So don't feel bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, should he have screamed out Rudy? No, he shouldn't. No, he should not have.
Yes, he has no shame, and that kid's got a lot of courage.
Yes, yes, he does. So you were mentioning some of the projects ahead.
Yeah.
And they go in production April and May.
Yep.
So that's not too far apart. So I guess you guys now, and congratulations on the growth. Where do you try to spend time at both of them? Do you now take these things and delegate out and say, all right, this is the kind of like Ringling Brothers used to do. This is the red group. This is the blue group.
Yep.
How does all that work?
We're figuring it out. We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
We're it's one of those things where we've had a tremendously fast growth over the past year, and so we're trying to figure out how to scale and how to do it on a larger scale. And so we've been trying to study a lot of other groups that have done that, like Pixar, and figure out how to kind of maintain the quality, but empower other voices that have something to say. So we've targeted other filmmakers that we feel like are special. And so the first one that we targeted was John Gunn from Case for Christ. And so when I watched Case for Christ in the theater, although it didn't kind of have the big box office, the quality was so good.
That was a great movie.
Yeah,
I tell people all the time. I said this is a great movie for the agnostic, for the the atheist that says, look, I just want to see somebody show me some evidence of all this. And of course, that was the same deal that Lee Strobel. He felt the same way. And I thought that movie was really well done.
Oh, it was extremely well done. And when I called, we had just released Woodlawn probably about 6 months before or a year before that came out. And so when I saw it, I called John Gunn and I said, I've just seen the best faith film I've ever been able to watch, and that includes anything that I've done. And I said, I think that tremendously talented. And so we struck up a friendship. And so when things started to kind of move forward with after Imagine, we just said we've got to recruit other voices that have something to say and give them the platform and utilize what God's given us to empower others. And so John is the first up to kind of be a part of that. And then we're developing a project with the guys from the band for King and Country, Joel and Luke and Ben Smallbone, the Smallbone Brothers. We're developing a product with them that they pitched us that we love, and they did a movie called Priceless that was really well done, and so we're excited to kind of put them in the director's chair soon, and then we're looking for other voices. So the goal one day, I know up front, a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be on John and myself, at least at first. But our desire one day is to have voices that are better than us and people that are even more skilled than we are, to allow that quality to go up and allow this to be something that's sustainable. So, I'm excited to promote people that can do things that are even far beyond what I've been able to do. So, the future is bright. And I think in order to do that, you got to replicate yourself. You've got to say, this isn't about me. That's why we decided to steer away from our company being called Erwin Brothers and picking the name Kingdom Story Company, because these are kingdom stories, and it's about the kingdom getting the glory, not us. And so our goal is kind of to achieve irrelevance, that if the stories promote the gospel and it points to the King of Kings, then who cares who the Erwins are?
That's right.
So that's what we're excited about with the future. And to do that, we've got to figure out how to keep the quality high, and I think that's by putting the right people in the chair. So, the speed at which things happen, though, it's insane. So I thought that Kurt Warner was going to go a year from now, and the news article, the press release hit right as I was finishing the mix on this current film, I Still Believe, and my mixer, Matt Waters, turned around and flipped the phone around and said, I guess you guys are releasing another movie this year. And I was like, oh my gosh, so somebody's going to let me, Papa's tired, let me sleep,
Another premiere.
You looked up and said, wait a minute, isn't May the month that comes right after April?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, he was like, you got another movie release? He's like, you got a movie releasing this year? I was like, yeah, I still believe hits theaters in March. He's like, no. He's like, you're shooting Kurt Warner and you're releasing that in December. And I was like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
But it's great. It's something we've always wanted to have, and the scale is starting to get bigger, and the actors we're able to kind of connect with.
They want to be part of something that's actually going to garner an audience.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, they're going to give it a wider and wider release and give it more and more resources. And on the heels of that, we've got a couple other projects that I'm really stoked about that I can't announce yet.
Okay.
But we definitely want to get into kind of we've got some war stories we want to do, and there's a New York Times bestseller that we're working out the details on right now. That there's already a really big movie star attached to. That we're working out the deal with, and so we're excited to see what God does for as long as they'll let me keep going.
I want to say this, and I don't mean to be awkward here, but if you don't hurry up and do Rick and Bubba the movie. Jack Black and Kevin James are not going to be alive forever. I mean, don't let them get too old. Well,
that would be dead on, wouldn't it?
That would be incredible casting. I would watch that movie.
And I do want to say this because I've got kids that are in the business, and I've got one that wants to be on the side of the camera that you're on, and he's extremely aggressive. And I think that he pursues you guys pretty hard. Know that I'm not sicking him on you. Okay, so he is, and he doesn't want my help. He didn't want me in it, and he's actually doing well. He's got jobs this summer and going to be out getting after it and doing it. And I hope that, like you say, he'll be part of that next generation of guys you hand the baton to.
I would love that. How old is he now?
He'll be 19 in May.
Oh my gosh!
And Andy, don't get any ideas about Adler. I know you've been checking out those daily documentaries. Just mark him off now. You can't have him,
right? And I think
I'll concede Adler.
Well, and I think Blake, who's the actor who you used in Woodlawn, I think you guys tried to at least let him audition for something, and the dates didn't work out. I don't know which project that was.
I had already offered him a role in I Still Believe as one of the supporting roles, and it was for a couple-day part. And what I love to do is I love to cast, familiar faces, from my other films. And so I offered Blake it, and he was not able to work out his dates. But it's exciting to see what that cast of Woodlawn's gone on to do. Caleb Castile just got cast on the TV show NCIS Los Angeles as one of the regulars.
How about that?
And so he's doing really well for himself, and it's really exciting to see what God's doing with this kind of new generation. But Blake's got skill. I would love to work with Blake anytime his agent would give me a deal.
Well, we're praying that'll happen. He's up for something right now, and I meant to tell Bubba this, where he doesn't have it. He's just up for it, and down to the final deal on playing a young John Goodman on something.
Really?
On something HBO's putting together. So,
and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but we have been asked to come back to Dean and Company again.
That's right. So
the Christmas special.
Just be aware of that.
So, there you go.
We're not available forever. So it's what you guys are doing. It's so important.
Oh yeah, we're so glad y'all are doing good. And man, the Lord's blessing you guys, and you're turning that over and reinvesting it, and it's just great to see. Man, it fires us up.
What do you think? We got about 5 minutes. What do you think about this? One thing, and we're certainly be in prayer for you. Do you ever worry because Christianity and Jesus told us this was going to happen, and then when you were talking about a minute ago about the people in the room, all I could think about was 2 Timothy 3:12. All who choose to live a godly life will be persecuted.
Yeah,
not some, all. And Jesus said, look, the world's going to hate you, but really they don't hate you. We're not worth being hated. They hate me.
Yep.
And but do you ever worry that there might be attempts to cut your legs out from under you, like sneak somebody in for an audition who then goes out and
absolutely, absolutely. There's
booby traps, you guys.
Yeah, booby trap.
It's like people love to back you into the unfair thing and try to back you into the corner. I think for Jon and I, our goal is to kind of rather than exclusion be an invitation to people of saying, we love to preach the gospel to anybody, regardless of what you believe. We're going to use it as an opportunity to influence people and to try to pull them towards Christ. And so I think, we kind of get to debunk a little bit of the stereotype of what they think a Christian is going to be. So what we don't want is there's a lot of Christians that are persecuted because of how they carry themselves, and they kind of get in their own way. And we don't want to be that. The part that I can't get around is that the gospel and the cross is a stumbling block for people that don't want to hear it.
Right.
And so there will be persecution that comes. I was just talking to Mandy the other day that there will be persecution that comes at some point where people don't want to hear that, and they will do whatever they can to try to block out that noise. And so, I feel like, it's a matter of time that people just they don't like to see sometimes that message promoted. But we're trying our best to present ourselves in that realm of, innocent as doves, wise as serpents, and be able to be shrewd with how we carry ourselves and careful.
Yep.
And making sure that we keep towing the line with integrity. And then, but try to have an innocent heart that tries to love people where they're at. And sometimes they just don't know what to do with that. And when you kind of are not a Christian that's going to push them away.
Yeah.
But yeah, if and when that comes, I'm not going to compromise on what I believe.
Of course not. But I think,
and we're there to tell people about Jesus.
Yeah, I think you hit that balance, and we've all had to work on this, and I certainly have. And that is, look, if I'm being persecuted because of my devotion to Christ, then let it stand. Let me just make sure, as you just said, that I'm not being persecuted because I'm a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
And those are two different things. But I think what I like is just like we talked about on the show before when the LGBTQ one of their activists that was going after Chick-fil-A. The Cafes actually said, "Why don't you come to the Chick-fil-A Bowl and actually get to know us?" And certainly we're not going to compromise what we believe is God's standard for marriage, gender, and intimacy. But after he spent that time with them, he came back and said, "How about these people are just devoted to their faith? They don't really hate us." And so I that's another part that maybe, Bubba, we don't talk about enough is that people like you and Jon, that you're exposing people. Because how many times have we seen somebody out speaking for our faith and we're like, "Oh, I wish that person wasn't our spokesperson today."
Yeah.
That's really not an accurate portrayal of who we're supposed to be. And I think you guys can probably, like you just said with Seth Rogen, where there's just even these moments where somebody says, "Okay, this is not what I expected."
I think you're right. I think our desire is to love people where they're at, and I think people would be surprised if Jesus were to be here today. The religious leaders of his time couldn't figure it out because he would always sit with people that they had labeled, as sinners and different things like that, because he knew that was the people that needed the good news of the gospel. And so we're there to preach the gospel and to tell people what Jesus did for them. And, instead of trying to push people away, we try to invite them into saying, "Let us tell you about Jesus." And that invitation, we want that to be wide and to really draw people to the cross, and to make people, that it's the goodness of God that draws people to repentance and the love that God has for them and what he did for them. And so, I think so many times, like you said, sometimes it's the fringe that gets the more attention, to where it's that angry, condemn people kind of point of view, instead of it being about the gospel that Jesus came to seek and save the lost, and he died for sinners, and I'm at the head of that list, and so that's what we try to do, is to let our product be an invitation to redemption, and that redemption is available to anyone. Yeah. And so we're excited to see what God does with that.
Well, this is a great opportunity, I still believe, and use this as an opportunity to take people and let them see the gospel, but just take them to the movie and say, "Let's go see a good movie." It's just like, and let's go see this incredible love story that you will not believe. And that's true. That's what it is. So it's a great movie, regardless of what you may or may not believe. but it's also a great opportunity to let people see the gospel laid out in a beautiful love story. So I still believe it's going to be at theaters everywhere on March the 13th. Be sure you make plans to go out and see it. Andy, thanks for taking time to be with us today on Rick and Bubba University.
You guys rock, and I will always be forever grateful for you guys letting me in your studio when I was outside holding up that DVD, and someday I'll pay it forward by casting Kevin James and Jack Black to play in a movie.
Thank you very much. There it is. Thanks for being with us on this edition of Rick and Bubba University.